In my life, as many of you know, before starting to join the ministry, I was an actor. I was also a writer. Still do some writing, obviously, write sermons and other pieces. I've written plays and screenplays. And one of the unproduced works that I wrote while living in Sweden was a self-help book, believe it or not. And this little excerpt, to toot my own horn just a tad, is from that book. The saying, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," is often attributed to Mohandas Karmchand Gandhi, the pluralist lawyer who led India to independence from British rule. In researching the quote for this book, I discovered that Gandhi does not appear to have written these words. What I discovered is that "be the change" may be a paraphrase of the following quote. Gandhi published these thoughts in the weekly newspaper, The Indian Opinion, which he founded in 1903. And a little aside here, because Gandhi was writing in the early 1900s, he often uses the word man when meaning person. The following reading has been edited, changing the word from man to person. I edited it myself. No other changes to this have been made. The following appeared in the Indian Opinion, September 8th, 1913. Gandhi writes, "We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a person changes their own world, so does the attitude of the world change towards them. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do." This writing underlines in a deeper way what I think we're trying to say when we use "be the change" as an aspiration in peace building. Gandhi points directly to his belief that in order to change the world, one must change one's life. At first glance, this might seem to be the whole thesis of the quote, but I think there's a deeper meaning still. Not only does the quote suggest that if we're to change the world, we must change ourselves, it also posits the idea that changing ourselves and changing the world are linked in such a way as to not be independent of one another. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. This is the divine mystery supreme. A wonderful thing it is, and the source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. In this way, Gandhi challenges us to take responsibility for our lives, our happiness, our inner and outer circumstances. He challenges us to no longer live in the distorted realities of self-oppression, but rather to use our will to enact and embody in our own lives the changes we want to see in the world. Everyone is welcome. Anyone's welcome to come up to the Wonder Box. It's usually for young folks, but anyone's welcome. Nick, no, you sit right there. You are young folks. So who'd like to open the Wonder Box today? Allie, go for it. Okay, work with it a little bit. Maybe lift that up. There you go. Then that one flips down. There you go. All right. What's in there? Looks like some mulch, and that's some random mulch. Yeah, interesting. There may be something else in there. I think there's something else in there. I see something besides all this debris. I see another thing in there. Do you see it? No, hold on. It's right. Let me just, hold on. I'll get it out because it's real delicate. Let me get it here. Okay. All right. There we go. You see that? No. Does everybody see that? Yeah. Okay. You know what that is?
I cannot even see.
You can't see it? It's right there. You can smell it. It smells pretty. It smells like flowers, and it's quite lovely. Yeah, it's very soft and sort of generous. It's warm. Touch your hand right there. It's real warm. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, it's warm and really, I don't know. Well, I think what this is I think it's peace. Does anybody know what peace is? Somebody have a definition of peace? What do you think peace is, Allie?
I don't know.
Okay. What do you think? You got an idea?
Like love?
Like love? Okay. Anybody else have? Yeah?
Quiet?
Quiet.
With multiple people that you show kindness to.
Okay. Lovely. Sometimes we often also we come to know what peace is by knowing what it's not. What is the opposite of peace, do we think? Yeah, what?
Loud?
Loud? Yeah, sure. We might think peace and quiet. So, yeah. Anybody else have an idea? That's what you were thinking, peace and quiet? I'd like some peace and quiet. I bet that came from Mom at some point. All I want in this house is some peace and quiet. Yeah.
Mean?
Being mean? Yeah, that's an opposite of peace, maybe. Yeah, what else? Anybody else?
Hate.
Hate? Yeah, hate. What else? Yeah. War, maybe? Chaos, maybe? Conflict, maybe? Okay. Here's another question. Yeah.
Fighting?
Fighting. Yeah. I think that's sort of in the direction. Sure.
Arguments.
Arguments. Okay. Interesting. One more quick question here. Can we have peace at the same time we're having war? Not really. I don't think so. Can we have peace at the same time we're having an argument? You don't think so?
Yeah, no.
Well, do people always agree on everything?
No. Some people agree on something different.
Some people agree on something different. So if we're going to have a disagreement with someone, can we have a disagreement with someone in a peaceful way? Yes. So maybe we could have a disagreement or an argument with someone, but we could have it in a peaceful way. So maybe we could even have a conflict with someone, a real strong disagreement, but have it in a peaceful way. What do you think? Does that sound right? No. Tell me why. Come on.
It's because it's still hurting the other person. And another thing is that it would have been better if they try to talk it out.
I think that's right. I think that both things are true. I think sometimes when we have a conflict, we talk it out. And sometimes when we have a conflict and we talk it out, sometimes we still feel hurt. But feeling hurt or having a conflict or having to talk it out doesn't mean we lose peace. I think we lose peace when we run away from it, when we stop reaching for it, when we stop trying to practice it, stop trying to find it, when we give up on it. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in here very gently, because sometimes it can be pretty fragile, peace.
Like an egg.
Like an egg.
Yes. If you drop an egg, then it breaks.
If you drop an egg, then it breaks. Good metaphor. Thank you all for helping me with the Wonder Box this morning. Thank you. Shall we sing our young people out to their classes?
I'll let you in on a little secret. If Judson asks you to be the worship associate, or if he asks you about anything else, he'll almost always add, if in doubt, just tell a story. So I'm going to tell a story of how my son, the guy in the White House, and the UU intern helped me to find peace. On an ordinary Wednesday, the world as I knew it ended. I woke up to what felt like a parallel universe. There was the before. The sky looked the same. but a person that I loved so much was gone forever. Many of you know this place. It is the land of the after, where the maps that we used to navigate our lives no longer worked. Zach was my fourth born, a wild child who arrived with a fire that never quite dimmed. He had more than his share of demons, and he had a mantra: if you're living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. He chased that edge every part of his life. But a few months ago, the edge became a cliff that he couldn't climb out from. Zach was an excellent swimmer, comfortable even in the wild waves of his beloved Hawaii, but he couldn't live on the edge forever. He drowned in a swimming pool in Indiana. It was an overdose. What a vibrant soul he was. I wish that you all could have known him. Standing here today, months after this new silent world, I'm still covered with the dust from that fall. I realized that if I was going to find peace, I was going to have to go to the edge to where he left me, and I was going to decide how to keep breathing. I share the story of Zach to tell you how the silence that he left behind eventually became the place where I found a peace that I never thought possible. It was a slow realization, but I wanted his legacy to be the joy and the passion that he lived with. I also needed peace for my own self-preservation. I found a few anchors to keep me grounded. Zach was an artist, so I picked up the art projects I'd long put on the shelf. He was a connector to those he loved. Even in his darkest days, he was the one who always called his grandparents weekly. To honor him, I upped my game of connection also. In his own way, Zach practiced mindfulness. He spoke about how nature settled him, how mindfulness was like riding the waves, and how he felt at peace even when hiking. I returned to my own mindful practice, and I realized that peace isn't found in avoiding the cliff. It's found by telling the whole hard truth and realizing in the free fall that we are held together one by another. This internal peace required me to forgive the world, to forgive the circumstances, and even to forgive myself. Living a more present life became what some call a mark of love. In the UU tradition, grief isn't the tragedy to be avoided or the absence of pain, but rather grief can be learning to carry it forward differently. It is a holy thing. We move from seeing a reason for the loss to finding a way to live within the reality of it. Peace began to reach me through small, holy moments. A certain night sky, a piece of music Zach loved, or the memory of how he could make me laugh even during his most exasperating times. When he could set aside his addictions, he was what a psychologist might call an emotional contagion. He was pure joy and pure peace. I realized that if I didn't want to be a contagion of anger and despair, I had to find my own peace. Peace began to feel a lot like a parachute. It doesn't stop with the fall, and it doesn't take away the terrifying height, but it does catch you. It allows you to descend with grace instead of crashing. My friends, my family, and this UUCCI community waited with me in my grief helping me to emerge. Which brings me to the guy in the White House and the UU intern. As I was learning to breathe again through my loss, I realized I was still holding my breath every darn time I looked at the news, mainly because of that guy. I realized I couldn't harbor a peaceful heart for my son and a wearing heart for my country. I wondered if peace on earth was really a fantasy. Maybe we needed a parachute for my democracy. It doesn't remove the scary heights of politics, but maybe it can prevent us from crashing into hate. Now to the part about Judson. He came to UU steeped in the Buddhist tradition. At my invitation, he spoke at one of our rallies, but when I asked him a second time, he turned me down. He agreed that we definitely did not want kings, and he could get just as fired up as I did about talking about current events. But he was looking for a response that was different than angry speeches and signs and the yelling and name-calling, though we both agreed they might have their place. Initially, I was skeptical. I had organized countless rallies and even demonstrated at the State House in Indy and in DC. I used to teach people how to build positive relationships with legislators, but if I was honest, my last correspondences had become so negative that had I been a legislative assistant, I probably would have thrown my letters into the trash. Instead of falling into anger, we chose to walk. From those Friday afternoon walks, a Thursday evening peace practice emerged. To deepen our practice, Judson suggested we read Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Love in Action. His premise that peace must start within is a natural within our UU faith. Both emphasize direct experience, compassion, and the interconnectedness of all life. Thich Nhat Hanh said, "To have peace, we must be peace." He teaches that we all carry seeds of anger and seeds of joy. We must choose which ones we are going to water. Inner peace is a social action. Action without inner stillness leads to burnout, and it causes more suffering. Only when you are peaceful can you make a true difference. He writes, "We often wait for the world to be just before we allow ourselves to be peace. But the world is waiting for us to be peaceful so that it can finally find justice. When we find that stillness within, we are not just helping ourselves, we're giving our children a safe harbor. We're giving our movement a sustainable heartbeat. Peace is not a passive state. It is a profound choice to lead with your soul instead of your ego. May our peace be the most disruptive thing about us. May we all find the wild peace that lives on the edge." In the hills of Rwanda lies a small yet powerful symbol of hope and humanity, the Rweru Reconciliation Village. In the years that followed the 1994 Rwandan genocide against the Tutsi, Rwanda embarked on a remarkable journey of recovery. A key part of that journey was the country's dedication to reconciliation and justice through Gakaba courts, a traditional community-based legal system which allowed perpetrators to confess, express remorse, and seek forgiveness. As this national process unfolded, the idea of reconciliation villages took root. They were designed as places where survivors and perpetrators could come together to rebuild trust, heal wounds, and forge a future based on forgiveness. One afternoon, we entered a different reality as we visited the Reconciliation Village. For us, the emotional shift was palpable. We were immediately embraced by the warmth and vibrancy of a community that, despite its painful past, radiated hope, resilience, and the power of forgiveness. Within this community, the concept of reconciliation was not just theoretical, it was lived every day. One of the most powerful stories we heard was that of Maria, a survivor, and Filbert, a former perpetrator. They lived side by side in the village, and at their request, I share this story. Through an interpreter, Maria courageously shared her painful journey, offering a glimpse into her experiences and resilience. Maria's husband and 6 of their 9 children were brutally murdered during the genocide. Her emotional wounds were so deep that she thought she could never heal. Her pain was compounded when she discovered that her neighbor, Philpott, had participated in the massacre that took her loved ones. Filbert, who had been imprisoned after the genocide, carried with him the burden of guilt. After serving his time, he returned to his community with a heart full of remorse, and like many others who had been part of the violence, he sought to make amends through the reconciliation process. When Filbert first approached Maria to ask for her forgiveness, the meeting was tense. Maria could barely contain her anger and sorrow. How could she forgive the man who was responsible for the deaths of her family? But over time, through multiple encounters facilitated by the village's reconciliation programs, Maria saw the deep remorse in Filbert. He shared how he had been consumed by violence and hatred, but had come to understand the gravity of his actions. He asked for her forgiveness, not to absolve himself of his own guilt, but to help both of them take a step forward in healing. It took years, but Maria, driven by her faith and a desire to free herself from the emotional chains of hatred, made the incredible, difficult decision to forgive him. In doing so, she found a sense of peace that she hadn't felt since the genocide. Today, Maria and Filbert are not just neighbors, but they're collaborators. They work together in the village fields, helping to grow food that sustains their community. Their story is a testament to the possibility of reconciliation, even between individuals whose lives have been torn apart by unfathomable violence. For those who live in these reconciliation villages, forgiveness is not seen as condoning past atrocities, but to break free from the cycle of hatred. The impact of this model reaches far beyond the village. It shows the world that even in the face of unspeakable horrors, it is possible for communities to come together, forgive, and rebuild. During our visit, we also had the opportunity to engage in a power exchange of questions with the villagers. I asked them what they believed would have happened if forgiveness and reconciliation had not been embraced after the genocide. One villager's response was profound and haunting. We would have destroyed one another. He explained about how the anger and hatred could have consumed them entirely, leaving no chance for peace or for survival. The choice to forgive, they emphasized, was not just for healing, it was a matter of survival for the community and for the future of their children. In turn, the questioners ask us a couple of questions as well. Why are Americans so divided when they have everything? Can Americans forgive? Those questions stuck deeply, not because of their simplicity, but because of their complexity. In a country like Rwanda, where reconciliation has been necessary to build after such a devastating loss, their observation about division in a nation like ours, the United States, felt both insightful and challenging. These were not easy questions to answer, and they left us reflecting on our own capacity for forgiveness, unity, and what it truly means to heal from deep divides.
Again, thank you for letting me serve in this way. As I said earlier, this will be my last sermon before I head back to Sweden for the summer. And it's moving fast. And I want to say thank you. There's no place I'd rather be than right here. So, next is my smiling from the pulpit practice. As you all know, I have grouchy resting face, so I'm going to smile from the pulpit. I'm also feeling the pressure of the clock, so here we are. I'm smiling from the pulpit. Yes. And actually, I'd like to see if you could all join me in this one. If we could all give just big smiles. If you don't feel like smiling, you don't have to, but if we could give big smiles, that'd be great. And maybe look at your neighbor also, and look at their smile. Give a big smile to your neighbor. You know, look at and smile, and also look across the room. See if you can find someone on the opposite side of the room and make eye contact with that person. Really see if you can find someone all the way on the other side of the room and give them a big smile and make eye contact with somebody. Just keep doing that. Yeah, okay, good. Excellent. Excellent. Show that smile. See the smiles around you. That might feel silly, might feel kind of shy. But let me just say, ask, how did it feel to do that? Call it out. How did it feel to do that? Fun. Nice. Good. Other things? Say again? Wonderful. Silly. Yeah. Was it embarrassing at all, or sort of a little bit, maybe a little embarrassing? Does it feel vulnerable for anybody to smile big? Yeah, a little bit. It can feel that way. Also, let me ask you, what happened in the room? How did the room change? Did it change? Say again? Got lighter. What else? More energy. More energy. Good. Anything else? Joyful. Yeah. So what we've just done is we've embodied something. If you look at the internet, or if you engage in wellness spaces, you'll come across the word embodied, very likely. It's kind of a wellness word. It's been trending for a while. But what does that mean? What does embodied mean? Call it out again. What does embodied mean? Anybody? Take inside. Take inside. What else? To embody. To demonstrate. Okay. Good. So for our purposes today, around this idea of embodied peace building, there's a definition that I like. Embodied means physically manifesting, representing, or containing an idea or quality in a concrete form. It signifies living through sensory, emotional, bodily experience rather than merely thinking. So our smiling is an embodied experience. We weren't thinking about the theory of smiling. We were doing smiling. And in that doing, in that embodiment, there was a direct effect on our experience of these material surroundings. The room felt different than it did before. Lighter, warmer, more joyful. So another word we're going to talk about today is peace building. What's peace building? Lots of definitions here, some of them kind of wonky, but the one I like the best is from the Alliance for Peacebuilding's website, and it says this: peace building is a comprehensive long-term process designed to prevent, reduce, or transform violent conflict into sustainable peace. It tackles the root causes of conflict rather than just the symptoms. Okay, so we have the word embodied, which is about physically representing or creating an inner quality in a concrete form, and peace building, which is a process for preventing, reducing, or transforming conflict into sustainable peace. This is an inner process to an outer process. Everybody with me so far? Okay. So one question here is, why do you think they don't call it peacemaking? Why peace building? Thoughts? Just throw them out.
It takes time.
It takes time. Peacemaking, peace building, it takes time. Okay? There's a process. Okay, like building something, it's a process. Anything else? Say again? Block over block. Starting with small steps. In the back.
That you already have the materials that you need.
You already have the materials that you need. Lovely. Yeah. All these things are right. I think they're all true and accurate. I think also another reason is because you can't make someone be peaceful. Peacemaking. You can't force someone to be peaceful. Trying to force someone to do something, no matter how noble the intent behind the force itself risks a spiral into harmfulness. Now, nations and groups sometimes do what's called peacekeeping, which is usually to deploy an armed group between other armed groups and try to keep everybody at peace. But that's not really peace. That's more like breaking up a fight. And sometimes breaking up a fight needs to happen. Sometimes it's an early part of peace-building processes, but it's only a part. So now, if you Google those two words, embodied peace building, you'll find a few things, but not much. There's some writing by a theologian in Ireland who's used the word. A few others have imagined the combination of words, but there's not really a widely agreed upon definition of embodied peace building. So what I'm doing when I place these two words together is I want to help us understand just one basic thing. Peace is something we do. And the place it starts is right here in our literal physical bodies. If we want to build peace in the world, we must build it within ourselves. So I believe this is what is meant by the phrase, be the change you want to see in the world. Now, as most of you all know, I got arrested up in Chicago last November protesting at the Broadview detainment facility. And remember how we smiled just a minute ago and how the room felt afterwards? Remember that? Now imagine what it would have been like if I would have instructed us instead to stand up and shout ragefully at a photo of someone we didn't like. We can imagine one of those political figures we might be mad at right now. Let's say we did that. We stood up and we just got really into it. We just went for it, screaming and cussing and just let it all loose, shouting our feelings at this peak picture. Now imagine that scene for a moment. And then imagine how the room would feel after that. Then imagine if afterwards I said, okay, now go be peaceful, everyone. Change the world for peace. Have a lovely Sunday. Now, when I was at Broadview getting arrested, I didn't see any protesters at that demonstration who were throwing punches at police, but in a crowd of probably 400 people, many of whom were angrily shouting and raging at the 40 or so cops who were there. And I'm not saying that these feelings of rage and anger are wrong. Absolutely, it would be weird not to be furious at the injustice we're seeing. The crowd's anger was totally understandable. Chicago was under siege. People were being kidnapped, abused, held captive in inhumane conditions. You know, ordinary folks treated much worse than guilty criminals and without having committed any crime. All these feelings are absolutely appropriate for the time and the place in which we live. And was the expression of that crowd's rage and anger a contributing component to the violence, the police violence that erupted that day? Would things have gone differently if the whole group maybe had sat down in the street, not uttered a single word, maybe blocked traffic until we were removed by police? We still would have been arrested, but what would have the headlines been then? What would have happened if an officer had even hit a quietly sitting person with his baton versus hitting one who was ragefully shouting in his face? I was not ragefully shouting, by the way. Because time travel is impossible, those questions, we can't answer them. We can't answer how it would have been different if that had been a silent, peaceful protest. But those are the questions that I carried back here from my experience that day. So with those questions in mind, I started reading about nonviolence. I started reading about MLK and Thich Nhat Hanh. And then as the winter wore on, we noticed that there were these Buddhist monks who were walking from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. They were doing a peace walk, open to all people to witness. No politics, no signs, no opposition, only walking toward peace. So some of us here at UUCCI decided that we do our own peace walk. Instead of walking 2,300 miles, we're just walking one. We walk 1 mile once a week in silence for peace. Every Friday, 4 o'clock, Bartholomew County Courthouse. Usually we have a dozen, sometimes 20 people. We walk in silence, no banners, no signs, no expression of political opinions. It's just a silent walk to express our solidarity with the idea that when we develop peace inside, it's more possible for peace to materialize outside in the world. So our walk is in this way an embodied peace-building practice. Some of us, as we entered spring, wanted to continue this conversation, so we started a practice group here on Thursday nights. We meet once a week, 6 to 8 p.m. every Thursday. Anyone's welcome to attend these activities. In that meeting, we talk about mindfulness, meditation, peace, and these topics. And we work with these feelings. So, some of us might think, well, I can't attend the peace walk because I have a physical issue that won't allow this walking a mile. That's totally understandable and acceptable. Or maybe peace walks don't fit your schedule, which is also understandable and acceptable. By the way, scheduling these events is something we're looking at, making it easier for folks who work to attend. We'll be shifting that in the fall. But maybe we're thinking, I could go to this peace practice group, but I'm already out there at UUCCI so much, and my Thursdays are already booked, and all of these things are totally acceptable, totally understandable. There's absolutely zero amount of pressure ever around doing peace walks or peace practice group. That should be no reason to beat ourselves up around not doing it. You'll never get a wagging finger from me or from anyone about not participating in these activities. There is just one part, however, of our thinking that I might want to challenge a bit today. And this comes up for me. It's the part of us that says, what difference does it make? What does it matter if we walk a mile for peace? How does that stop ICE from deporting families, friends, immigrant neighbors? How does practicing inner peace keep Donald Trump from bombing the world and taking away our rights? How does the idea of embodied peace building do anything but make Judson sound like he knows something up there in the pulpit? How can inner to outer peace change a system when the system is broken as ours is? This part of us, the part of us that thinks the problems are just too big, the issue's just too toxic, too many people follow Trump, the corporatists have too much money, system's just too broken, world has just gone 2 wheels off to change course. This part of us, this thinking, is where I think I need some honest reflection. Thich Nhat Hanh was a Buddhist monk and a peace teacher all throughout the Vietnam War, during the war. He was also active in that country's peace process, and because he was unwilling to stand for one side of that country against the other, he was unwilling to stand north against south or vice versa, He was exiled from Vietnam, and he spent the rest of his days living in France. That's a pretty big sacrifice to make for peace, to never go home again. Speaking of sacrifice, we all know the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's impact on this country, and it was indelible. He didn't live to see a black person in the presidency, but his work towards peace and nonviolence most certainly paved the way for that to be possible. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, and when he was released and ascended to the presidency, his work around nonviolence helped South Africa enter a process of reconciling its colonial past, one that Rwanda used also. And that process kept South Africa from relapsing into full-blown civil war. So we might think to ourselves, yeah, but these are great people. We might say, MLK, Thich Nhat Hanh, Mandela, I'm not them, I'm just me, I'm retired. I'm not a speaker, I'm not a monk, I'm not a politician, I'm not a big deal activist. I'm just me. I'm not some famous peace person. But let's not forget this example of Rwanda. In that genocide, 1 million people were killed. But the truly shocking part is it happened in 100 days. Unimaginable. Turns the stomach. And yet here they are, over 30 years later, still a unified nation that has undergone a reconciliation process that is now a model for the world. And these aren't famous people. They're ordinary, many without much, most without much formal education, most of them quite poor. Yet somehow they chose peace and reconciliation when more rage, anger, hate, cruelty, and violence would have been totally justifiable. So famous or not, let us remember that all the people I just mentioned, Thich Nhat Hanh to the Rwandans, they were all born of a mother, like us. Every one of them was once a child, a teenager, a young adult. Every one of them lived in a body. Every one of them went to bed at night, woke up in the morning, sometimes had to pee, caught a cold, had good days, bad days, felt emotions, breathed the air, saw sunsets, experienced the rain, heard the song of a bird, felt the sun. None of them knew exactly where their lives would lead, and none of them knew the day they were going to die. So we cannot possibly know all the ways that committing ourselves to the discovery of peace will impact the world. Some kid in this congregation might overhear her parents talking about this very service, and a little seed of thinking might take root in her mind this very afternoon. That seed might later influence a decision that influences another and another, and she might be the one who leads the world to disarm its nuclear stockpiles. Or maybe it's not so grandiose. Maybe someone who sees us on our Friday Peace Walk might just try to be a little bit kinder to a coworker that they're struggling with that day. My point is this: what we do with this one precious life matters. Every moment we live has the potential to be just another moment in a sea of moments we'll forget, or an opportunity to practice embodying peace that will radiate from us and into the world around us. Peace, my friends, is a practice. It takes work, and it happens here and here and here. And it's absolutely possible to find it, cultivate it, build it, regardless of our outside circumstances. May it be so. Amen. And ho matakuyasan.